I wouldn't describe it as particularly dark, the story. Yeah. It's more of an alien football comedy.
Yeah. I mean, it's in terms of like the actual art style as well. Like, it looks quite ominous, but it's
oh yes.
But there's a lot of character to it.
Well, the alien has to come over with a certain amount of force. And so I suppose a lot of the darkness does come from the art.
And it's I was going to say as well, and you mentioned before that it was ROM of the Reds before, it's now Rock of the Reds.
Yeah.
You said you preferred the title.
Yeah, well, ROM of the Red, originally, our original title for it was ROM of the Rovers. Mm-hmm. And we thought, well, we're definitely going to get sued over that one. So we just changed it to ROM of the Reds. And then I think IDW brought out ROM Space Knight book. Mm-hmm. And I realized that there's this Mattel character called
You don't want
ROM.
someone else coming after you.
Yeah, and well, Mattel is a very powerful company, and they can just squash you like that.
Yeah.
So we changed it to Rock, and once I got used to it, I much preferred Rock. It's a harder sound than ROM, and it suits a footballer.
Okay.
He was a good new artist we found working in a fanzine. Mm-hmm. Because I tried to enlist some professional artists, but nobody can do something for practically nothing if they have to make a living. Mm-hmm. So I found Dan Cornwall working for Zarjazz and offered him the gig. He drives a bus in Brighton. And he's been a real revelation. I love his art.
Is he just it must be one of those things he's just so passionate about as well that he just works away at it.
They've been working for nothing just to do it. And his art is so full of character. I like that about it. It's like cartoony, but it still works as picture strip.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, if you could just give the short pitch of what Rock, as you said, it is a football comedy essentially.
Yeah, he's the first alien footballer. He's an extremely powerful alien from a noble race who's escaping justice on his own planet, and he arrives on Earth, and the first person he meets is this miscreant footballer called Kyle Dixon, who has just lost his team a game and got the red card and been told he'll never play for the Radford Reds again. And, I would spoil things if I told you what happened from there, but Rock becomes a player with the Radford Reds in their Great Cup run of 2016.
It's such a unique idea. It's just when you describe it, it's like you're trying to put it together in your head. And it's like,
well, people. I imagine people. I'm surprised when people aren't really curious. How are you going to make that work?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that? And we had the ending figured out from the very start. We knew what was going to happen, which is unusual for me. Usually I just start out with a character and a few ideas, but I knew where this one was going. And it's been tough fitting it into 6 issues, but generally I find if you have to work to constraints like that, you get a better story. You don't pad. It's a much tighter.
You've got to be disciplined with what you're doing.
Yeah, and there's no padding, no looseness in the story. It's everything counts.
Yeah, you have to be a bit more concise. Otherwise, it's not gonna. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
No. As well as that, I was going to say, when I was coming down to get you for the interview as well, I thought it was quite amazing because you were you just did the 2000 AD panel, and you could straight away tell that he had finished by the amount of judges that came out of that panel. I was like, I wonder if it's finished. And then it was a line of about 15 judges just coming out. Is it not just bizarre seeing?
It's weird, yeah. And the number of them that have Dredd tattooed on them too. Not just judges, but fans. I often think I should get a fan tattooed on me.
Just to repay the favor.
The composite fan.
Exactly. You just either get like a faceless one or just some sort of competition to see which fan will get the tattoo.
Yeah, they lined them up at a Showmasters convention at Earl's Court, I think it was, a couple of years ago, and there were 80 of them standing on the stairs, all in uniforms. 2 kids who both got some kind of heat exhaustion because it was a hot day, and these uniforms, they sweat. Oh dear, I think, in real life, judges on the street would need air conditioning.
They need fans and everything, yeah. I was going to say, wasn't the thing, though, you can't be comfortable to be a good judge. It's the size of the boots, was one of the things,
boots,
And I don't know what would be scarier, the fact you're sitting in a crowd and you're looking out, and it's the fact it's one of the most ominous faces you could have looking back at you.
Yeah.
And even unexpected, they smile. but I find it's very interesting as well. You've said with Rock of the Reds, it's almost this comedy story, and Judge Dredd is something that you often get, particularly if you look at the new film and things. It's personified as something quite dark, but when you look back at your first story, he's a very severe character. But when you're being banished to a traffic island, there is a tongue-in-cheek nature to it. It's not
always been strong comedy elements in Dredd.
Did you ever have people that are like would sympathise with the fact it's like, yeah, we need someone to be this harsh, and it's like, okay, well
sometimes I do. Driving along, someone cuts me up on the motorway. I'm thinking, if only Dredd could come along, pull that guy over and give him what he deserves, and I could be there to watch. But I would hate it. I mean, I really hate violence, but comic violence is fun.
It's a very different beast, isn't it, when you think about it? But I just think it's the same with it's one of the things that's been quite prevalent, that there is this sort of tongue-in-cheek nature to it all. It's 2000 AD in general has sort of developed from that, where it has this. It's got this balance that I can't think of anything else that really manages to maintain that. It can have a very dark nature, but at the same time, it can do it in a very playful way that only really works with comics, like in that sort of manner.
Well, I think it can work in film too. I just find it really hard to write anything without humor.
It must be very miserable writing so much stuff without humor.
I know, it's like a lot of people think I ruined The Dark Judges by doing The Boyhood of a Super Fiend, which was total comedy with The Dark Judge, and I suppose in a way I did. But I couldn't help it. It was a laugh. I wanted to do it.
Exactly. If you're doing something so miserable, you need to. Even for the people reading it, you got to give them something uplifting once every so often. So why not? Or something at least humorous. But exactly. But I think it just shows how amazing that it is that there's so much based around it. There's so much that's really, even just in a convention like this that isn't the biggest, you can still see so much presence about it. It must be just incredible to see that sort of thing. Or
it's amazing. It's just grown over the years from a trickle to a flood of. I'm just surprised at the number of people who turn up as judges. There's even one who spends her life as a perp. That's all she calls herself, Wendy Perp Payne. She's a perp.
It's just I find it absolutely mental that it's so many unique stories that have come off this one thing as well, and it's something to be incredibly proud of. And as well as that, it's not the only body of work you've had continuing on, but that sort of style of writing that you've sort of had as well. I very much like it as well, because of the fact that it's. Like you said, I can't, even if someone tells me something serious, I'm going to have to make a joke once every so often. I can't, I'm the worst for that. And I like the fact that it's, like you said, it's yourself represented.
Yeah, life's too serious not to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point to end on there.
Okay, good.
But thank you very much.